Hello everyone. Now we are going to start the remaining part of sample complexity for finite hypothesis space. So till now we have studied how to get the value of total number of training examples in case when we have a consistent learner. So right now we have to study about the agnostic learning and the inconsistent hypothesis. So the first question arises about the agnostic learning. What is this agnostic learning? So basically this is the type of learning in which learner makes no assumption about the target concept, whether it is representable by H or a hypothesis or it will not representable by hypothesis, and this simply finds the hypothesis with minimum training error. Before that we have studied that it will provide you the hypothesis should be provide you a training error which is equals to 0, but here they said that the hypothesis it has going to find out a hypothesis with minimum training error. So from the definition we have understood that there is no as such commitment about the target concept and the hypothesis. So that the target concept can be the subset of H or it cannot be the subset of H. Now come up to the next part. Let's take a value D which denotes the set of training example to the learner, and D dash I'm using here as a probability distribution over the entire set of instances. Let's take error. We are going to define error with suffix D of H. So here it denotes the training error, and if I'm taking suffix D dash, it denotes the true error. Okay, now training error is defined as the fraction of training examples in D that are misclassified. So basically when we what is the error? Training error is the error when the hypothesis misclassify the instances. So with D it is training error over a particular sample, and with D dash it specifies true error over the entire distribution. So in agnostic learning what we need to find out? We need to find out a hypothesis with the lowest training error over the training examples. Let's take H best be the hypothesis with lowest training error over the training examples. Now, how many training examples are enough to ensure that its error, which error? True error will be not more than epsilon plus training error. I will repeat it. अब हमें ये फाइंड आउट करना है कि कितने ट्रेनिंग एग्जाम्पल्स हमें रिक्वायर्ड हैं जिससे कि हम क्या निकाल सकें, एक ट्रू एरर निकाल सकें, और वो जो ट्रू एरर है वो हमारा किससे ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए? ट्रेनिंग एरर प्लस एप्सिलॉन की वैल्यू से ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. तो अब इस चीज़ को किसने वो किया, रिजॉल्व किया है? वी आर यूजिंग हियर होएफ्डिंग बाउंड्स. सो बेसिकली वी आर गोइंग टू बाउंड दिस एरर ऑल्सो. We call it additive Chernoff bounds. So the Hoeffding bounds state that if the training error is measured over the set D containing m randomly drawn example, then the probability that the true error is greater than epsilon plus training error is always less than or equals to e minus 2 e the power minus 2m epsilon square. So here additive Chernoff bounds क्या कह रहा है? ये कह रहा है कि अगर जो ट्रेनिंग एरर है हम किसकी हेल्प से निकालें? m randomly drawn ट्रेनिंग एग्जाम्पल्स की हेल्प से निकालें. तो इन दैट केस जो प्रोबेबिलिटी है किस चीज़ की? आपकी ट्रू एरर की ट्रू एरर की जो वैल्यू है इट इज़ ग्रेटर देन एरर ट्रेनिंग एरर प्लस एप्सिलॉन, वो हमेशा लेस देन इक्वल टू रहेगी e टू द पावर माइनस 2m एप्सिलॉन स्क्वायर के, अकॉर्डिंग टू द एडिटिव चेरनॉफ बाउंड्स और होएफ्डिंग बाउंड्स. Okay, now what this additive Chernoff bounds do? It basically characterize the deviation between true probability of the event and its observed frequency over m independent trials. ना ये जो होएफडिंग बाउंड्स है बेसिकली डिफरेंस बताता है ट्रू प्रोबेबिलिटी के बीच में किसी भी इवेंट के और जो हमने ऑब्जर्व की है फ्रीक्वेंसी ओवर द इंडिपेंडेंट ट्रायल्स. Now we should find out a best hypothesis found by L that has an error bounded in this way. ओके सो हमें क्या कंसीडर करना पड़ेगा कि द प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट एनी हाइपोथेसिस कुड हैव लार्ज एरर. नाउ लार्ज एरर कब हो सकता है? लार्ज एरर तब हो सकता है कि जब हम यहाँ पर हमने क्या लिखा है कि द प्रोबेबिलिटी इज़ लेस देन और इक्वल टू ई टू द पावर -2m एप्सिलॉन स्क्वायर. अगर हम ये जो प्रोबेबिलिटी है इसको हम इसकी जगह हम क्या लिख सकते हैं? वी कैन राइट इट डाउन हियर द समेशन ऑफ ऑल द हाइपोथेसिस और द whole hypothesis space. So here it says that the probability that there exists some hypothesis that belongs to the hypothesis space, and that hypothesis it follows the same condition. The training error is the true error is greater than the training error plus epsilon. So the probability of that particular hypothesis is less than hypothesis into e to the power -2m epsilon square. Now we can call this probability as delta because this is a very large error, and ask how many example m are enough to hold this delta to some desired value. So now we are going to bound this particular large error. So we are going to ask how many example L are enough to hold this delta to some desired value. We now obtain the value of m. Just put just put delta in place of the probability. So delta is less than your hypothesis space into e to the power -2m epsilon square. Now we can generalize this equation and get m is greater than or equals to 1 by 2 epsilon square log of h plus log of 1 divided by delta. So by this definition we will get m. M is the number of training examples which are required to successfully give the hypothesis that will provide the minimum training error. So in our next topic we are going to find out the conjunction of Boolean literals are pack learnable or not. So basically we know that whenever we are going to classify a class, target concept class C, and that class is described by the conjunction of Boolean literals. So now when we say the conjunction of Boolean literals, it includes the literals, its negation and ignoring its value. So by this way, if we are going to find out the size of our hypothesis, so the size of the hypothesis is equal to 3 to the power n. Now consider any consistent learner using a hypothesis space H, and that space is identical to our target concept. So using the equation to compute m random training examples sufficient to ensure that L will output a hypothesis with maximum error epsilon and probability 1 minus delta. So we have already studied the equation, which is m is always greater than or equal to 1 by epsilon log of h plus log of 1 by delta. So here we are going to substitute the value of h by 3 to the power n. So if we put 3 to the power n, we will get m is greater than equals to 1 by epsilon n log 3 plus log 1 by delta. Let's understand it by taking one example. Let's take a consistent learner L that describes C by 10 literals. What is C? C is the target concept class, and we desire 95% probability that it learn the hypothesis with error less than 0.1. So what is given in the question? It is given that we are taking 10 literals, okay, and 95% probability. It means delta is 95% and the error should be less than 0.1. So epsilon is 0.1. So here we are calculating m just by putting all the values in the equation we have mentioned just before. So from the equation we see that m grows linearly in the number of literals n, and linearly in 1 by epsilon, and logarithmically in 1 by delta. So if we are going to ask about the computational effort, so computational effort can be find out by the specific learning algorithm which we are using for this purpose. Even the total computation required will be polynomial as well. So in case of learning a conjunction of Boolean literals, one algorithm that meets this requirement which is Finder's algorithm, which incrementally computes the most specific hypothesis consistent with the training examples. So Finder's algorithm PAC learns the concept class of conjunction of n Boolean literals and its negation. Now we are going through the second theorem of sample complexity for finite hypothesis space. This second theorem states that PAC learnability of Boolean conjunction. It means the class C, or the target concept class of conjunction of Boolean literal, is PAC learnable by Finder's algorithm using H is identical to C. So I have already written in the notes, and you can see the proof part also. Here we derived the equation m is greater than equals to 1 by epsilon n log 3 plus log 1 by delta. This above equation shows that the sample complexity for this concept class is polynomial in n and 1 by delta, 1 by epsilon, and independent of size c. And if we see Finder's algorithm, it incrementally processes each training example. So Finder's requires efforts linear to n and independent of 1 by delta, 1 by epsilon, and size c. So therefore we can say that this class concept, or this target concept class, is PAC learnable by Finder's. So likewise, the target concept class we have discussed before. There are some more other type of classes that can also be PAC learnable and determine the sample complexity. So here the first type of learner is unbiased learner. Till now we have seen that the sample complexity is polynomially bounded, but not all classes have polynomial bounded sample complexity, like unbiased concept class. So here concept class C is defined by the power set of X, or you can say that the set of all the subsets of X. What is X? X are the number of instances, or the set of instances. So we can define C as 2 to the power X concepts. So X is defined by n Boolean features. In this case we can define X as 2 to the power n and distinct instances. Therefore C is 2 to the power X, and we can replace X by 2 to the power n distinct concepts. So basically C represent 2 to the power n distinct concepts. To learn such unbiased concept class, the learner must use unbiased hypothesis space. So here we say that H is identical to C. So if H is identical to C, now we can also represent H as 2 to the power n. Now the same formula which we are using till now of sample complexity, m is greater than or equals to 1 by epsilon log of H plus log of 1 by delta. Just we need to substitute the value of H by 2 to the power n. What we will get? M is greater than equals to 1 by epsilon 2 to the power n log 2 plus log 1 by delta. So here by this formulation we see that the unbiased class has exponential sample complexity under PAC model. Now let's take one more example of class, which is K-term DNF and K-CNF concepts. To find a concept class that have polynomial sample complexity is possible. In spite of that, cannot be learned in polynomial time. Basically it says that sample complexity is polynomially bound, but it is not possible that if we need to learn the particular system, that particular system is learned in polynomial time. Now to understand it in detail, let's take an example. Concept class C of k term disjunctive normal form. So basically that C class is described by a k term disjunctive normal form expression. So basically it is represented by T1 disjunction T2 disjunction T3 up till disjunction of Tk. Now each term Ti is the conjunction of n Boolean literals and their negation. Now we are assuming here as hypothesis space is equals to our target class. So H is at most k into 3 to the power n. Why we are taking over here k into 3 to the power n? Here we have total how many terms? K terms. After that, each particular term is the disjunction of n Boolean attributes and their negation. So it always includes the literal and their negation and the ignored value. So the value of hypothesis will become 3 to the power n, as we have studied before. So as we have k disjunctive terms, that's why we multiplied it by k into 3 to the power n. So what we need to do, we just need to do the simple thing. We have to take the formulation which we have taken before. M is greater than equals to 1 by epsilon log n plus log 1 by delta. Just substitute the value of h by k into 3 to the power n in the formulation, and we will get the sample complexity of KDNF class, which is equals to 1 by epsilon n into log 3 plus log k plus log 1 by delta. But the problem in KDNF is that the sample complexity of KDNF is polynomial in 1 by epsilon and 1 by delta with n and k. But the computational complexity is not polynomial, because the learning problem is unsolvable in polynomial. It is equivalent to the other problems that are unsolvable. Now how can we resolve this problem? So we are taking KCNF, which is conjunctive normal form. Basically it can be represented by T1 conjunction T2 up to Tk. So here Ti, a single term, is represented by the disjunction of k Boolean attributes. So this class has polynomial sample complexity and polynomial time complexity also. Any k term DNF expression can be easily rewritten as KCNF expression. KCNF is more expressive than k term DNF. Hence KDNF is pack learnable by an efficient algorithm using H equals to KCNF.